Welcome to the land of the Pharaohs, where the ancient civilization of Egypt was born. Along the banks of the Nile River, a mighty empire rose, leaving behind a legacy of pyramids, temples, and mysteries waiting to be unraveled. Did you know that the Nile is the longest river in the world? Imagine what it must have been like living beside such a majestic river. Drop a comment below if you've ever been to Egypt or if you'd love to visit one day. The Nile River was the lifeblood of ancient Egypt, providing fertile soil, water, and a means of transportation. The annual flooding of the Nile brought nutrient-rich silt, allowing for the growth of crops and supporting a rapidly expanding population. The Nile River is about 6,650 kilometers, 4,130 miles, long, making it the longest river in the world, although some may argue it competes with the Amazon in length due to differing measurement methods. The width of the Nile varies greatly depending on the location. In Egypt, near the Nile Delta, it can range from 1.5 kilometers, 0.9 miles, wide to 2.5 kilometers, 1.5 miles wide. In some places, it can expand to several kilometers in width during the wet season. Depth. The depth of the Nile also varies. In some areas, it can reach depths of about 8 to 11 meters, 26 to 36 feet. But the river is shallow in other places, particularly in its upper reaches. The Nile River flows through 11 countries in northeastern Africa. These countries are Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, Kenya, South Sudan, Ethiopia, Egypt, Democratic Republic of Congo, only a small part in the northeast, Eritrea, though the Nile itself does not directly flow. Through Eritrea, it is an important geographical consideration. The Nile is divided into two major tributaries: White Nile, which originates in East Africa, mainly from Lake Victoria, flowing through Uganda, Kenya, and Sudan. Blue Nile, which originates from Lake Tana in Ethiopia and merges with the White Nile near Sudan. The Nile River flows from south to north and empties into the Mediterranean Sea. It passes through the Sahara Desert, which is why it is sometimes referred to as the lifeblood of Egypt, as it provides water, fertile soil, and transportation across the harsh desert landscape. By providing fertile soil through its annual floods, the Nile made the development of ancient Egypt possible and was integral to its agricultural success and overall civilization. Around 3100 BCE, the kingdoms of Upper and Lower Egypt merged, marking the beginning of the Old Kingdom. This period saw the rise of powerful pharaohs who oversaw the construction of monumental architecture and the development of a complex system of hieroglyphic writing. Several powerful pharaohs who played pivotal roles in the formation of Egypt's identity and culture. We have Narmer-Menes, the pharaoh who is traditionally credited with uniting Upper and Lower Egypt around 3100 BCE. He founded the First Dynasty, marking the start of Egypt's Old Kingdom. Next we have Djoser, the pharaoh of the Third Dynasty, known for commissioning the Step Pyramid at Saqqara, which is considered one of the first monumental stone structures in the world. Also we have Sneferu, founder of the Fourth Dynasty, credited with the development of the true pyramid shape. He built the Bent Pyramid and the Red Pyramid, the first smooth-sided pyramid. Khufu, Cheops, the builder of the Great Pyramid of Giza, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. His reign during the Fourth Dynasty marked the height of the Old Kingdom's architectural achievements. Hatshepsut. One of the few female pharaohs, Hatshepsut expanded trade networks and oversaw impressive construction projects, including her temple at Deir el-Bahari. She ruled during the 18th dynasty. Akhenaten, Amenhotep IV, known for attempting to shift Egypt from polytheism to monotheism by focusing worship on the sun god Aten. His reign marked a significant religious shift. Tutankhamun, the famous boy king, whose tomb, discovered in 1922, contained immense treasures. His short reign marked the return to polytheism after Akhenaten's reforms. Ramses II, Ramses the Great, one of Egypt's most powerful and celebrated pharaohs, known for his military campaigns, monumental building projects, and the peace treaty with the Hittites. His reign during the 19th dynasty lasted 66 years. Egypt has such a rich history. Imagine living in a land of pharaohs and wonders. Drop a comment if you are proud of Egypt's legacy, or if you're a proud Egyptian descendant. Just say, "I'm proud to be an Egyptian." As ancient Egyptian civilization grew, so did the need for a written language. Hieroglyphic writing emerged, using pictograms and phonograms to convey complex ideas and stories. This writing system would become a hallmark of Egyptian culture, used for everything from royal decrees to tomb inscriptions. The hieroglyphic writing system was developed over many centuries, but the system's complex nature became fully evident during the Old Kingdom around 2600 BCE. Hieroglyphics evolved from simpler pictograms into a combination of logograms, phonograms, and ideograms. First development. Initially, symbols were simple pictures representing objects or ideas, such as animals or tools. Emergence of complexity. Over time, these symbols became more abstract, representing sounds, phonetic signs, and ideas, ideograms. Notable milestone. The Rosetta Stone, discovered in 1799, was key to deciphering the script, as it contains the same text in hieroglyphics, Demotic, and Greek, allowing scholars to understand the meanings of many symbols. The hieroglyphic system was a significant part of Egypt's cultural and political landscape, used in temples, tombs, royal decrees, and official records. The writing system symbolized the divine nature of the pharaoh and the eternal life of the afterlife, making it integral to religious and royal activities. The pyramids of ancient Egypt are some of the most impressive architectural achievements in history. The Great Pyramid of Giza, built for Pharaoh Khufu, is a testament to the ingenuity and skill of Egyptian engineers and laborers. The construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza and other pyramids is one of the most fascinating achievements of ancient Egyptian engineering, and it involved a combination of skilled architects, engineers, and, of course, the ruling pharaoh. The pharaoh, Pharaoh Khufu, Cheops, reign. Khufu ruled during the 4th dynasty of the Old Kingdom, around 2589 to 2566 BCE. He is best known for commissioning the Great Pyramid of Giza, which was originally 481 feet tall, but now stands at 455 feet due to the loss of the outer casing stones. Legacy. Khufu's pyramid is the largest of the 3 pyramids at Giza, and it was the tallest man-made structure in the world for over 3,800 years. His tomb inside the Great Pyramid was intended to honor him and ensure his safe passage to the afterlife, aligning with the ancient Egyptian belief in immortality through the preservation of the body and soul. Controversy. Khufu's reign was not entirely positive in the eyes of all, as some accounts, like those of the ancient Greek historian Herodotus, suggest that he was a harsh ruler who forced the construction of the pyramids with an enormous labor force. The architect and engineer, Hemiunu position. Hemiunu is believed to have been the chief architect and vizier during Khufu's reign. He is traditionally credited with overseeing the construction of the Great Pyramid, though his role is debated in historical records. Evidence. His name appears on various inscriptions, and some scholars suggest that Hemiunu might have been the one to design the pyramid, though the exact details of the construction remain unclear. His title as vizier and overseer of all the works of the king indicates that he held a high position in the royal administration and was responsible for supervising the monumental construction projects. Family. Hemiunu was a relative of Khufu, and there are reports that he was a part of Khufu's family, which may have granted him the privilege of leading the project. The engineering and architectural marvels. The construction of the pyramids, especially the Great Pyramid, was an incredible feat of ancient engineering. Some of the key features and innovations include 1. Planning and alignment. Alignment to the stars. The Great Pyramid is perfectly aligned with the cardinal points, north, south, east, and west. This precise alignment was achieved using the stars, with the ancient Egyptians using the North Star to orient the pyramid with great accuracy. Mathematical precision. The pyramid's sides are oriented with extreme precision, deviating only by a small fraction of a degree. The shape of the pyramid itself, a perfect square, was likely designed using complex geometry, possibly leveraging a system of ropes, grids, and measurements. Second, building materials. Limestone. The core of the pyramid is made from millions of limestone blocks, each weighing several tons. The outer casing was originally made from polished Tura limestone, which gave the pyramid a smooth, shining surface. Granite. The internal chambers, including the king's chamber, were constructed from massive granite blocks, which were quarried in Aswan, over 800 kilometers, 500 miles, south of Giza. 3. Construction techniques, ramps. One of the key challenges in pyramid construction was lifting the massive stones to great heights. There are several theories about how ramps were used to move the stones. Straight ramp. A long straight ramp might have been built leading up to the pyramid, but this would have had to be enormous to accommodate the height of the pyramid. Spiral ramp. Another theory suggests that a spiral ramp was constructed around the pyramid as it rose, allowing stones to be moved up gradually. Internal ramp. Some recent theories propose that an internal spiral ramp was built inside the pyramid itself to transport the blocks into place. Fourth, labor force, skilled workers. While it was once believed that the pyramids were built by slaves, modern research suggests that skilled workers, likely organized in teams and working in rotating shifts, were responsible for the construction. These workers would have been fed, housed, and paid for their labor. Work camps. Archaeological evidence points to large worker camps near the pyramids, where laborers lived while constructing the monument. These camps included workshops, bakeries, and storage areas for supplies. Other notable figures and architects. Imhotep. Although not directly associated with the Great Pyramid, Imhotep was a renowned architect, engineer, and physician who lived during the Third Dynasty. He is credited with designing the step pyramid at Saqqara for Pharaoh Djoser, which is considered the first pyramid in Egypt. Imhotep's innovations influenced later pyramid construction. Khafre, Chephren. Khufu's son, Pharaoh Khafre, built the second pyramid at Giza and is also credited with commissioning the Great Sphinx, a massive stone sculpture with the body of a lion and the head of a pharaoh, which guards the pyramids. Legacy. The Great Pyramid stands today as a testament to the ingenuity, resourcefulness, and perseverance of the ancient Egyptians. The skill of the architects, engineers, and laborers who worked on it still fascinates modern scientists and engineers. Though we may never fully understand all the details of its construction, it remains an unparalleled symbol of ancient Egypt's engineering marvels. The history of ancient Egypt is marked by periods of unity and disunity, with the Old Kingdom, Middle Kingdom, and New Kingdom each experiencing phases of both prosperity and chaos. The reasons for the separation of the kingdoms, i.e., the periods of disunity, are complex and involve a combination of political, social, and external factors. Here's a detailed look at what led to chaos and war in each of these periods. Old Kingdom, circa 2686 to 2181 BCE. The era of the pyramid builders. The Old Kingdom is often referred to as the Age of the Pyramids, a period during which Egypt enjoyed great prosperity, and the pharaohs were seen as the central, divine rulers of the land. However, it was also the time when the system of centralized government, which had been so effective during the early dynastic period, began to weaken. Factors leading to disunity: economic decline. The construction of the Grand Pyramids and the monumental state-building projects placed a significant strain on Egypt's economy. The cost of maintaining large labor forces and the royal court's demands contributed to economic instability. Power struggles. The power of the pharaohs, although strong during the early part of the Old Kingdom, gradually weakened toward the end. Pharaohs faced internal strife within the court, which led to factionalism and the rise of powerful regional governors, or nomarchs, who controlled specific provinces. Over time, these local rulers gained more autonomy and sometimes resisted the authority of the central government. Weakening of central authority. As the power of the central government declined, the nomarchs and provincial leaders gained control over regions, undermining the unity of the kingdom. This lack of centralized leadership created a power vacuum. Climate change and famine. Evidence suggests that there were periods of drought and reduced flooding of the Nile, which led to famine. Poor harvests would have worsened the economic conditions and contributed to social unrest. These factors culminated in the collapse of the Old Kingdom, known as the First Intermediate Period, circa 2181 to 2055 BCE, during which Egypt was divided into multiple competing regions. The central authority of the pharaohs was effectively broken. The Middle Kingdom, circa 2050 to 1650 BCE, reunification and stability. The Middle Kingdom began with the reunification of Egypt under Pharaoh Mentuhotep II, who restored central authority after the chaos of the First Intermediate Period. This period saw a revival of prosperity, monumental building projects, and a strong military presence. Factors leading to decline, internal struggles and rebellions. Despite the initial success of the Middle Kingdom, later rulers faced difficulties in maintaining the stability of the kingdom. Regional officials and military leaders sometimes gained too much power and autonomy, challenging the authority of the central government. Foreign invasions. During the Second Intermediate Period, circa 1650 to 1550 BCE, Egypt faced invasions from the Hyksos, a Semitic-speaking people from the Levant. They took control of the Nile Delta and established their own rule, marking the end of the Middle Kingdom. The Hyksos brought new technologies, including horse-drawn chariots and improved weapons, which were unfamiliar to the Egyptians at the time. Weakening of military defenses. During the Middle Kingdom, Egypt expanded its territory, but maintaining control over distant lands placed a strain on the military. The failure to protect Egypt from external threats, such as the Hyksos, led to a temporary loss of control over parts of the kingdom. Decline in religious and political stability. The collapse of the Middle Kingdom and the rise of the Hyksos are also attributed to the weakening of Egypt's religious and political structures. The pharaoh's divine authority became more contested, and the central government was not strong enough to repel external invasions. The New Kingdom, circa 1550 to 1070 BCE. The peak of Egyptian power. The New Kingdom is often considered the height of Egypt's power and wealth. This was a time when Egypt expanded its influence into the Near East and Nubia. The pharaohs of this period, such as Thutmose III, Amenhotep II, Ramses II, and Tutankhamun, are remembered for their military campaigns and monumental building projects. Factors leading to decline, overextension of power. The New Kingdom pharaohs, such as Thutmose III, expanded Egypt's empire to its greatest extent, reaching as far as Syria and the Euphrates River. However, managing such a vast empire put a significant strain on Egypt's resources and military. The costs of defending far-flung territories and maintaining an empire led to difficulties in governance. Internal revolts. The increasing power of the priests of Amun, particularly in Thebes, also created internal power struggles. The high priests of Amun in Karnak gained tremendous wealth and influence, sometimes challenging the authority of the pharaoh. This internal strife weakened the central government. Religious reforms of Akhenaten. Pharaoh Akhenaten, formerly Amenhotep IV, attempted to revolutionize Egyptian religion by promoting the worship of the sun, god Aten, over the traditional pantheon of gods. This religious upheaval created tensions within Egypt, leading to divisions and discontent, especially among the powerful priesthoods of traditional gods like Amun. The Sea Peoples and foreign invasions. Toward the end of the New Kingdom, Egypt faced invasions from the Sea Peoples, a confederation of maritime raiders, as well as incursions from the Libyans and other neighboring peoples. These invasions, along with internal struggles, weakened Egypt's defenses. Decline of the Ramesside dynasty. After the reign of Ramses II, 1279 to 1213 BCE, Egypt's military and political power began to decline. Successive pharaohs were unable to maintain the empire's vast borders, and Egypt became increasingly vulnerable to external pressures. In ancient Egypt, religion and mythology were deeply woven into the daily life of the people, influencing their culture, politics, art, and architecture. The Egyptians practiced polytheism, worshipping a multitude of gods and goddesses who represented various aspects of life, nature, and the cosmos. Religion and mythology in ancient Egypt, central role of the pharaoh. The pharaoh was considered the living god on earth, the divine ruler who was the intermediary between the gods and the people. He was the earthly manifestation of the sun god Ra, and believed to have been chosen by the gods to rule over Egypt. His divine status was crucial for maintaining Ma'at, cosmic order, justice, and balance, which was the foundation of Egyptian society. Cosmic order, Ma'at. Ma'at was not only the concept of truth, justice, and harmony, but also represented the balance of the universe. The gods were responsible for upholding this order, and it was the pharaoh's duty to ensure that Ma'at was maintained on earth. The afterlife and immortality. Religion in Egypt was heavily focused on the afterlife. Egyptians believed that life continued after death, but the soul had to undergo judgment before it could enter the afterlife. This belief shaped many of their practices, such as mummification and the construction of elaborate tombs and pyramids for the pharaohs and elite. Major gods and goddesses of ancient Egypt: Ra, Re, sun god, Rol. Ra was the supreme god of the sun and one of the most important deities in Egyptian religion. He was associated with creation and was often depicted as a falcon-headed god with a solar disk above his head. Mythology. Ra was believed to sail across the sky in a solar boat during the day and travel through the underworld, Duat, at night. He was also seen as the creator of all life and the ruler of both the heavens and the earth. 2. Osiris, god of the afterlife, resurrection, and agriculture. Role. Osiris was the god of the afterlife, resurrection, and agriculture. He was a central figure in Egyptian mythology, representing death and rebirth. Mythology. Osiris was killed by his brother Seth, who was envious of him. Osiris' wife, Isis, resurrected him, and he became the ruler of the underworld. His death and resurrection became symbolic of the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth. His cult was immensely popular, and he was considered the protector of the dead. Isis, goddess of magic, motherhood, and fertility role. Isis was one of the most powerful and widely venerated deities in Egypt. She was the sister and wife of Osiris, and the mother of Horus. Mythology. Isis was known for her magical abilities and was believed to possess great wisdom and power. She played a central role in the resurrection of Osiris and the protection of her son Horus. As the protector of nature, fertility, and motherhood, she was revered by many throughout Egypt. Horus, god of the sky and kingship role. Horus was the god of the sky, war, and kingship. He was the son of Isis and Osiris, and was typically depicted as a falcon, or a man with a falcon head. Mythology. Horus avenged his father Osiris by defeating Seth in battle. Afterward, he became the ruler of the living, symbolizing the pharaoh's power. Horus was also associated with the pharaohs, as the king was often seen as a living incarnation of Horus. Seth, Set, god of chaos, storms, and disorder role. Seth was the god of chaos, storms, and disorder. He was often depicted as a creature with a mysterious animal-like head, sometimes described as the Set animal or a composite of various animals. Mythology. Seth was the brother of Osiris and the antagonist in many Egyptian myths. He killed Osiris out of jealousy and attempted to prevent Osiris' resurrection. Seth was also seen as a god of the desert, storms, and foreign lands. Anubis, god of mummification and the dead. Role. Anubis was the god of mummification and the protector of the dead. He was typically depicted as a jackal or as a man with the head of a jackal. Mythology. Anubis was responsible for embalming the dead and guiding souls to the afterlife. He also oversaw the weighing of the heart, where the souls of the deceased were judged in the Hall of Judgment. Anubis was essential in ensuring the deceased's safe passage into the afterlife. Hathor, goddess of love, beauty, music, and joy. Role. Hathor was the goddess of love, beauty, music, and joy. She was depicted as a cow, a woman with cow's ears, or with a solar disk surrounded by cow horns. Mythology. Hathor was associated with fertility, maternal care, and music. She was also considered the patroness of miners, as her cult was particularly strong in areas where minerals and precious metals were extracted. Thoth, god of wisdom, writing, and the moon role. Thoth was the god of wisdom, writing, and knowledge. He was often depicted as a man with the head of an ibis, or as a baboon. Mythology. Thoth was the scribe of the gods and the inventor of writing. He was responsible for recording the judgments of the dead in the afterlife. Thoth was also associated with the moon and with knowledge, music, and magic. Ma'at, goddess of truth, justice, and order role. Ma'at personified truth, justice, and cosmic order. She was often depicted as a woman with an ostrich feather on her head. Mythology. Ma'at was the concept of balance and harmony that was central to Egyptian society. It was the pharaoh's role to maintain Ma'at through good governance and actions that upheld the will of the gods. Bastet, Bast, goddess of home, fertility, and protection role. Bastet was a goddess associated with home, fertility, and childbirth. She was depicted as a lioness or as a woman with the head of a lioness or domestic cat. Mythology. Bastet was a protector of the home and family, especially women and children. She was also seen as the goddess of music, dance, and joy. Initially, Bastet was depicted as a lioness and associated with war, but over time she evolved into a gentler figure, linked with domestic life and protection. Amun, god of Thebes and creator deity role. Amun was initially a local god of Thebes, but later became one of the most powerful gods in Egypt, especially during the New Kingdom. Mythology. Amun was considered the hidden god and the ruler of the cosmos. He was often depicted as a man with a ram's head or as a ram. His fusion with Ra to become Amun-Ra symbolized the sun god's supreme power. Amun's rise in importance coincided with the political power of Thebes. Ta, god of creation and the arts role. Ta was the god of creation, craftsmanship, and architecture. He was associated with the city of Memphis. Mythology. Ptah was believed to have created the world through the power of thought and speech. He was also a patron of artisans and builders, and many craftsmen and architects invoked him before beginning their work. Religious practices, temples. Egypt was dotted with vast temples dedicated to the gods, where priests and priestesses performed rituals, offerings, and prayers. Temples served as the residence of the gods and were the center of religious life. The Book of the Dead. This is one of the most famous religious texts, which served as a guide for the deceased to navigate the afterlife. It includes spells, prayers, and instructions for the soul to be judged by Osiris and other gods. Festivals and offerings. Festivals were held in honor of gods and involved processions, music, dancing, feasting, and offerings. The Opet festival, for example, celebrated the divine union between Amun and the pharaoh. Egyptian religion was deeply intertwined with their understanding of the cosmos, life, death, and the afterlife. The gods and goddesses were seen as powerful forces that governed all aspects of existence, and the pharaoh, as their representative on earth, was responsible for maintaining harmony and order, Ma'at, through his rule. Egyptians worshipped many gods and goddesses. If you could choose one deity to represent you, which would it be? Drop your answer in the comments and share why. Daily life in ancient Egypt revolved around agriculture, trade, and craftsmanship. Society was hierarchical, with the pharaoh at the top, followed by nobles, priests, scribes, artisans, and farmers. The ancient Egyptians were pioneers in medicine and science. They developed surgical techniques, used herbal remedies, and observed celestial patterns to create one of the first calendars in human history. Art and architecture were more than just decoration. They were a means of communication, preserving the beliefs and accomplishments of the Egyptian people for eternity. Egypt's economy flourished through trade with neighboring regions like Nubia, Mesopotamia, and the Mediterranean, exchanging goods like grain, gold, and papyrus for incense, ebony, and cedar wood. The Egyptian military was vital in protecting its borders and maintaining its dominance. They pioneered military strategies and equipment, solidifying their power in the ancient world. The decline of ancient Egypt. Egypt's decline occurred over a long period, punctuated by various dynastic changes, invasions, internal strife, and shifts in power. While the civilization reached its peak during the New Kingdom, by the end of the late period, Egypt was no longer the dominant power it once was. Several key events and factors contributed to this decline. 1. Foreign invasions. The Hyksos invasion, circa 1640 to 1550 BCE. The Hyksos were a group of Asiatic people who migrated into the Nile Delta and eventually took control of northern Egypt during the Second Intermediate Period. Their rule disrupted the stability of Egypt, though they were eventually driven out by native Egyptian rulers, such as Amos Therms, who established the 18th dynasty. Assyrian and Persian invasions. By the end of the 7th century BCE, Egypt's power waned significantly. The Assyrian Empire first invaded Egypt in 674 BCE, leading to temporary occupation. The Persian Empire, under Cyrus the Great, and later Cambyses II, invaded Egypt in the 6th century BCE, defeating the Egyptian army and annexing Egypt as a Persian satrapy, province, in 525 BCE. Egypt's autonomy was further diminished as Persia maintained control over the land. Alexander the Great, 332 BCE. After a series of internal power struggles, Egypt fell under the control of Alexander the Great, who conquered the Persian Empire. Though Alexander's conquest marked a shift in Egyptian history, it also represented the end of the country's ancient rule. After Alexander's death, his general Ptolemy I established the Ptolemaic dynasty, marking the beginning of Greek rule in Egypt. Roman conquest, 30 BCE. The Ptolemaic dynasty, including the famous Queen Cleopatra VII, ended when Egypt was conquered by Rome. Cleopatra's defeat by Octavian, the future Emperor Augustus, at the Battle of Actium in 31 BCE led to Egypt becoming a Roman province in 30 BCE, signaling the end of Egypt's status as an independent empire. Second, internal strife and weak leadership. Political instability. As Egypt's power declined, the central government became weaker, and there were frequent changes in leadership. The late period of Egyptian history, from the 22nd dynasty to the 30th dynasty, saw numerous pharaohs with short reigns, internal divisions, and a lack of strong central authority. Corruption and economic problems. The elite and priesthood gained more power, leading to corruption within the administration. The economic strain caused by frequent warfare, diminishing resources, and weak trade connections further destabilized the nation. Third, religious changes and social unrest. The Amarna period, circa 1353 to 1336 BCE. One of the most significant events in Egypt's history was the reign of Akhenaten, formerly Amenhotep IV, who introduced a form of monotheism centered around the worship of the sun disk, Aten. Akhenaten's radical religious reforms alienated the priesthood and caused social upheaval. After his death, his successor Tutankhamun restored traditional polytheistic beliefs, but the damage to Egypt's unity had already been done. Decline in the role of the pharaoh. As Egyptian society became more fractured, the role of the pharaoh diminished, and local leaders, such as regional governors and priesthoods, gained more autonomy. This shift further eroded the cohesion of Egypt as a unified state. Fourth, military decline of the military power. As Egypt's military strength waned, it became increasingly difficult to defend its borders from foreign invasions. The military was also weakened by internal corruption and a lack of resources to maintain a strong standing army. The legacy of ancient Egypt. Despite its decline, the legacy of ancient Egypt has been profound and enduring. Many of its contributions continue to shape the modern world, both in terms of culture and technological advancements, architecture and engineering, the pyramids and monuments. The pyramids of Egypt, especially the Great Pyramid of Giza, stand as enduring symbols of Egypt's architectural ingenuity and power. These massive stone structures were not only tombs for pharaohs, but also symbols of their divine status. The construction techniques used in the pyramids and temples are still a subject of study and admiration today. Temples and obelisks. Ancient Egypt left behind magnificent temples dedicated to gods and pharaohs. Notable examples include the Temple of Karnak, Luxor Temple, and the Temple of Abu Simbel. Obelisks, tall stone pillars inscribed with hieroglyphs, were also symbols of the pharaoh's power and are now seen in various parts of the world. Engineering innovations. Egypt's advances in engineering, including the development of large-scale irrigation systems and the construction of monumental structures, set the stage for later civilizations in the Mediterranean and beyond. Writing and language hieroglyphics. One of Egypt's most significant legacies is the development of hieroglyphic writing, a complex system of pictographs and symbols used for religious, administrative, and cultural purposes. The discovery of the Rosetta Stone in 1799 by French soldiers during Napoleon's campaign in Egypt helped scholars decode hieroglyphs, unlocking centuries of Egyptian history and knowledge. Literature. Ancient Egyptian literature includes religious texts, medical writings, wisdom literature, and poetic works. The Book of the Dead, for instance, is one of the most famous works of Egyptian literature, offering insight into Egyptian beliefs about the afterlife. Religion and philosophy. Influence on other cultures. Egyptian religious practices, including the worship of gods and the concept of the afterlife, influenced neighboring cultures, particularly in the Mediterranean and Near East. The ideas of resurrection, the soul, and judgment before gods found parallels in other ancient religions, such as those of Greece, Rome, and later, Christianity and Islam. Mathematics and astronomy. The Egyptians made notable advancements in mathematics and astronomy, driven by their need to track the movements of the stars, the sun, and the moon for agricultural and religious purposes. Their calendar, based on the lunar and solar cycles, was one of the most accurate of the ancient world. Art and iconography. Artistic legacy. Egyptian art, characterized by its distinctive style and symbolism, continues to influence modern art and design. The use of bold colors, the depiction of gods and pharaohs in formal poses, and the use of symbols like the Ankh, symbol of life, and the Eye of Horus have left a lasting mark on Western and global artistic traditions. Iconography and symbols. Egyptian symbols such as the Ankh, scarab, Eye of Horus, and the pyramid are widely used in modern culture. These symbols continue to represent themes of life, protection, and eternity. Scientific and medical knowledge medicine. Ancient Egyptians practiced advanced medicine with knowledge of anatomy, surgical techniques, and medicinal plants. They even had specialized medical practitioners, such as dentists and eye doctors. Some of their medical knowledge, particularly in the area of anatomy and embalming, laid the foundation for later medical practices in Greece and Rome. Mathematics and engineering. The Egyptians made contributions to geometry, algebra, and engineering. Their understanding of basic mathematical principles allowed them to construct their monumental pyramids and other structures with precision. The decline of ancient Egypt was a result of numerous internal and external factors, including invasions, political instability, economic troubles, and military decline. However, despite its fall, Egypt's legacy remains one of the most influential in human history. The civilization's achievements in architecture, writing, religion, art, and science continue to inspire awe and admiration today. The monuments, texts, and cultural contributions of ancient Egypt are not just relics of the past, but are living legacies that continue to shape modern thought, art, and knowledge. Egypt's legacy continues to inspire and captivate us today. Thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share it with others who might find it fascinating. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss more captivating stories about African history. And we'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and let us know what you found most interesting or if there's anything we missed. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us keep bringing you content that inspires and educates. Until next time, thank you for watching.